welcome to Do the Right Thing, your weekly writing prompt podcast. I'm Alexandra.
And I'm Jarvis.
And we are two writers on the verge of death, but unable to die until we write the perfect story.
So, to further push us towards our deaths and also get better at our craft, we are issuing a challenge. Each week you sit down and write a complete short story using 3 of 4 randomly generated words.
Then you send them to this podcast. We read them. We read a story every week. We talk about what we learned in writing it, and then we talk about stories that you sent in.
Exactamundo. We're simply here to help you do the right thing.
A doof media production. So y'all may have noticed a tiny change to the intro, which is my name is different.
Really? Oh,
which is fun. Although a second ago we recorded the intro and I accidentally said my old name and then corrected myself, and it was very awkward. So maybe I'll include that post credits because it's funny.
It is all a part of transition, right?
So officially, I mean I've come out on everything else, but I'm coming out here as non-binary. I did that yesterday for the most part. So thanks.
I'm so happy for you.
Thank you. So I'm going by Alexandra now, and you can use any nicknames except for Andy and Al. Please don't call me Andy or Al.
Especially not Al.
Neither, please. However, part of the reason, Alexandre is my middle name, and so it's basically Alexandra. And it has a ton of nicknames from it, and so, I hate making decisions, so that's kind of like my middle road of like, hey, I have tons of options with the nicknames. It's like I'm not picking a name at all, right?
It could be Lexi.
You could call me...
Alfred? No, it can't.
I don't... I mean, you could. It's not Al or Andy, so I'll allow it. You could do Alex, you could do Lex, you can do Lexi, you can do Xandra or Sandra.
Alexis?
I mean, I prefer the X's. Alexis is fine. You could do just Zan or Zans. You could do whatever.
Because there's Zanned out.
Dra or Ra. Either one.
Can I please call you
God?
Ra?
You can. I do identify somewhat with Ra.
Wasn't that the name of a pharaoh?
He's one of the forms of the sun god, basically. Okay. He's like the main guy. Although he's like basically in heaven, he doesn't really do a ton other than the sun stuff. Osiris is more of a down to earth kind. I know a lot. So Isis, apparently, it was really annoying that we should have just called it ISIL. That's really annoying because Isis is actually like really, really. She's a badass goddess. Like she's a trickster, but also like benevolent. And basically, during the sort of Hellenic times when Greece when there was Greeks in charge of Egypt. Isis, the cult of Isis kind of went everywhere, and she kind of became almost like a monotheistic religion where she basically like people were living polytheistically, right? They prayed all these gods, but Isis, because she like her entire thing is or became protection and fertility and so many other things. She's basically like the only person you had to pray to. So people just prayed to her and to none of the other gods.
Oh, so, which means that I guess she gained power and popularity.
Yeah, she basically was just monotheistic to some people.
Wow.
Which is interesting.
That can be you.
So you can call me Ra or whatever else. I'm fine with any pronouns. I don't have like super hard dysphoria or anything like that. So if anyone makes a mistake, it's totally okay. I mean, like he doesn't hurt that much, but they and she are like slightly preferable. So yeah,
nice.
that's me coming out. We're done. 4 minutes. That's all I need.
Well, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Does this make you angry? Maybe vengeful, wrathful?
Yeah.
Like,
about
just this entire thing. Like, does it make you want revenge?
Wait, to what? To who? To whom?
It's a transition.
What?
Because the main topic.
Because the theme was that was more for last week.
Fuck.
Does it make me want to die? Kinda.
Okay, so it does make you want to die. Maybe think of
just a little
death
bit.
A little bit. Okay,
a little bit of death. A little bit. You can kind of think of it as my manhood dying.
Mm-hmm.
And just kind of shrivels up and falls off. I'm just kidding.
And the manhood being like the soldier part of you.
That's right.
And you meet death as a soldier.
And then this is really, really good. Excellent transition. It's going to be, this is even better than mine will go.
So, if you haven't picked it up, this week we will be reading the story Soldier and Death by Eugene Field.
What a loser.
So, is there anything that we really need to know before hopping into it? Any sort of background, or can we just go full speed ahead?
Nope. It's a pretty classic story. It plays off a bunch of tropes about death and stuff like that. Yeah. So, let's just get into it.
Sure.
Test. That's about right. Maybe a little bit louder. No, it should be fine because it goes above 20. Okay. So this is Death and the Soldier by Eugene Field. A soldier who had won imperishable fame on the battlefields of his country was confronted by a gaunt stranger, clad in all black and wearing an impenetrable mask. "Who are you that you dare to block my way?" demanded the soldier. Then the stranger drew aside his mask, and the soldier knew that he was Death. "Have you come for me?" asked the soldier. "If so, I will not go with you, so go your way alone." But Death held out his bony hand and beckoned to the soldier. "No," cried the soldier, resolutely, "my time is not come. See, here are the histories I am writing. No hand but mine can finish them. I will not go till they are done." "I have ridden by your side day and night," said Death. "I have hovered about you on 100 battlefields, but no sight of me could chill your heart till now, and now I hold you in my power. Come!" And with these words, Death seized upon the soldier and strove to bear him hence. But the soldier struggled so desperately that he prevailed against Death, and the strange phantom departed alone. Then, when he had gone, the soldier found upon his throat the imprint of Death's cruel fingers, so fierce had been the struggle. And nothing could wash away the marks, nay, not all the skill in the world could wash them away, for they were disease, lingering, agonizing, fatal disease. But with quiet valor, the soldier returned to his histories, and for many days thereafter he toiled upon them as the last and best work of his noble life. "How pale and thin the soldier is getting," said the people. "His hair is whitening, and his eyes are wary. He should not have undertaken the histories. The labor is killing him." They did not know of his struggle with death, nor had they seen the marks upon the soldier's throat. But when the physicians came to him and saw the marks of Death's cruel fingers, they shook their heads and said the soldier could not live to complete the work upon which his whole heart was set. And the soldier knew it, too, and many a time he paused in his writing and laid his pen aside and bowed his head upon his hands and strove for consolation in the thought of the great fame he had already won. But there was no consolation in all this. So when Death came a second time, he found the soldier weak and trembling and emaciated. "It would be vain of you to struggle with me now," said Death. "My poison is in your veins, and see, my dew is upon your brow. But you are a brave man, and I will not bear you with me till you have asked one favor which I will grant." "Give me an hour to ask the favor," said the soldier. "There are so many things, my histories and all. Give me an hour so that I may decide what I shall ask." And as Death tarried, the soldier communed with himself. Before he closed his eyes forever, what boon should he ask of Death? And the soldier's thoughts sped back over the years, and his whole life came to him like a lightning flash. The companionship and smiles of kings, the glories of government and political power, the honors of peace, the joys of conquest, the din of battle, the sweets of a quiet home life upon a western prairie, the gentle devotion of a wife, the clamor of noisy boys, and the face of a little girl. Ah, there his thoughts lingered and clung. Time to complete our work, our book, our histories, counseled Ambition. Ask Death for more time to do this last and crowning act of our great life. But the soldiers' ears were deaf to the cries of Ambition. They heard another voice, the voice of the soldier's heart, and the voice whispered, Nellie, Nellie, Nellie. That was all. No other words but those, and the soldier struggled to his feet and stretched forth his hands and called to Death, and, hearing him calling, Death came and stood before him. I have made my choice, said the soldier. The books? Said Death with a scornful smile. No, not them, said the soldier, but my little girl, my Nellie. Give me a lease of life till I have held her in these arms, and then hunt for me, and I will go. Then Death's hideous aspect was changed. His stern features relaxed, and a look of pity came upon them. And Death said, It shall be so. And saying this, he went his way. Now the soldier's child was far away, many, many leagues from where the soldier lived, beyond a broad, tempestuous ocean. She was not, as you might suppose, a little child, although the soldier spoke of her as such. She was a wife and a mother, and yet even in her womanhood she was to the soldier's heart the same little girl the soldier had held upon his knee many and many a time, while his rough hands weaved prairie flowers into her soft, fair curls. And the soldier called her Nellie now, just as he did then, when she sat on his knee and prattled of her dolls. This is the way of the human heart. It had been noised about that the soldier was dying, and that Nellie had been sent for across the sea. All the people vied with each other in soothing the last moments of the famous man, for he was beloved by all, and all were bound to him by bonds of patriotic gratitude, since he had been so brave a soldier upon the battlefields of his country. But the soldier did not heed their words of sympathy. The voice of fame, which in the past had stirred a fever in his blood and fallen most pleasantly upon his ears, awakened no emotion in his bosom now. The soldier thought only of Nellie, and he awaited her coming. An old comrade came and pressed his hand, and talked of the times when they went to the wars together. And the old comrade told of this battle and of that, and how such a victory was won and such a city was taken. But the soldier's ears heard no sound of battle now, and his eyes could see no flash of saber nor smoke of war. So the people came and spoke words of veneration, and love, and hope, and so with quiet fortitude, but with a hungry heart, the soldier waited for Nellie, his little girl. She came across the broad, tempestuous ocean. The gulls flew out far from the land and told the winds, and the winds flew further still and said to the ship, Speed on, O ship! Speed on thy swift, straight course, for you are bearing a treasure to a father's heart. Then the ship left forward in her pathway, and the waves were very still, and the winds kept whispering, Speed on, O ship! Till at last the ship was come to port, and the little girl was clasped in the soldier's arms. Then, for a season, the soldier seemed quite himself again, and people said, He will live. And they prayed that he might. But their hopes and prayers were in vain. Death's seal was on the soldier, and there was no release. The last days of the soldier's life were the most beautiful of all. But what a mockery of ambition and fame and all the grand, pretentious things of life they were. They were the triumph of a human heart, and what is better or purer or sweeter than that? No thought of the 100 battlefields upon which his valor had shown conspicuous came to the soldier now, nor the echo of his eternal fame, nor even yet the murmurs of a sorrowing people. Nellie was by his side, and his hungry, fainting heart fed on her dear love, and his soul went back with her to the years long agone. Away beyond the western horizon, upon the prairie, stands a little home over which the vines trail. All about it is the tall, waving grass, and over yonder is the swale with a legion of chattering blackbirds perched on its swaying reeds and rushes. Bright, wild flowers bloom on every side. The quail whistles on the pasture fence, and from his home in the chimney corner, the cricket tries to chirp an echo to the lonely bird's call. In this little prairie home, we see a man holding on his knee a little girl, who is telling him of her play as he smooths her fair curls or strokes her tiny velvet hands, or perhaps she's singing him one of her baby songs, or asking him strange questions of the great wide world that is so new to her. Or perhaps he binds the wild flowers she has brought into a little nosegay for her new gingham dress. But we see it all, and so, too, does the soldier, and so does Nellie, and they hear the blackbird's twitter, and the quail's shrill call, and the cricket's faint echo, and all about them is a sweet, subtle, holy fragrance of memory. And so at last, when death came and the soldier fell asleep forever, Nellie, his little girl, was holding his hands and whispering to him of those days. Hers were the last words he heard, and by the peace that rested on his face when he was dead, you might have thought that the soldier was dreaming of a time when Nellie prattled on his knee and made him weave the wild flowers in her curls.
All right, so that was a fantastic story. I mean, as I was reading it, I never really expected where it was gonna go. I mean, a lot of stories like this, normally the protagonist kind of tricks death into not taking them, but in this one, the thing that really made it was that this soldier was kind of plagued with this sickness on his neck for the rest of his life. To where this sort of final wish to death, where normally someone would try to trick death for the very last time, this seemed a lot more of an honest wish of wanting to die in the arms of your daughter, yes. Of an angel. So, I don't know. I think this sort of subverted what I expected going into it, but because of that, the story is so memorable and impactful.
Yeah, so I definitely think there's sort of a subversion here where, death just kind of takes pity on them, and there's not this is where the character actually makes a good choice for once. It doesn't do the ambitious thing, right? Because it would normally be like the normal story, or at least the one you would expect now, is that he actually does pick the books and to write the histories, and then writes them, and then actually realizes that he's super unfulfilled and never sees his daughter again and is super sad about it.
Because I mean, death when death came to him for the second time, death expected that, right? Didn't he say oh, you want to choose the books, and even death was shocked that he didn't try and get one over on him.
Yeah. I like how the first one was literally just they wrestled. He was really good at wrestling. They wrestled death to the ground. So let's expand the theme a bit more from this particular thing. So the challenge this week that we want to do is on death, which is basically just write a story about the concept of death, right? There's a lot of themes that usually go to it, and this is kind of just a super classic one of someone trying to avoid it and trying to prolong their life, and then finding what actually is important.
Yes. But I mean, when it comes to writing about death, something to take from this story is that you don't really have to follow a sort of hackneyed plan. I mean, you can use tropes very well, but I think the thing that really separates this story is that it has its own spin, that it does kind of dwell in the sentimentality of what someone goes through when they are faced with death. I mean, throughout this story, we know very well that this person is going to die, and they do know that too. And I think a strong turning point, and something that y'all can really take heed to, is that when the main character fully accepts his own death, that's when the sort of beauty kind of starts within this story.
Yeah, that's true. That's when he accepts death, that's when he realizes what's actually important to him, and he stops. You can kind of view writing those books to be remembered forever as sort of like attempt toward immortality. And then him turning towards his daughter is more like leaving a legacy with other people rather than himself.
Yeah.
And more living in the moment, I think. Although, I don't know if living in the moment, because he actually does think about the past a lot, but, thinking on what's actually here rather than working towards some future that doesn't actually exist.
Yeah.
So that's interesting to think about. And I think that's a fairly common one. A lot of people, make the point, a lot of stories make the point of, seeking for immortality is, fruitless and actually leads to you being more unhappy in the end than if you just enjoyed the time that you did have. I know some people would disagree with that, and those are valid, but
yeah, I mean, really,
death can be horrifying.
Yeah, I mean, really, they're all valid, but as you said, the journey towards immortality, the journey towards a larger, not totally concrete end. Does lead you to being unhappy, and I mean, it goes back to the adage that the journey itself is more important than the destination. So,
thank you, Jarvis, for saying that.
I was gonna do it the other way, but it doesn't apply here.
Okay, great, good. That's great. Yeah. So there's a lot of options here. You can follow these sort of tropes. I think they're a good guiding point, or do any other sort of jumping off point. You can have death as a character, or just as a concept that's going around. I know it can be a depressing topic. And I know it's Christmas month and everything's dark. So I understand. If you don't want to write about death, that's okay. But challenging yourself to look at uncomfortable feelings, to actually think about what it might be like to die, and maybe get a step closer to coming to terms with it. Maybe it's positive.
Yeah, because
obviously
really,
be careful. Please don't try to write what you know and die first. I don't want you to do that. Please don't do that.
What a novel that would be, though. A post-mortem novel. Wow. But no, I mean, that is definitely one major journey that we all do go on as humans, is that we eventually have to understand that with all great things, there is this sort of natural end, and this ending that sort of eludes us, right? So I think even though it is uncomfortable, as you said, I try to feel and look at things that don't always make me happy, but can lead me to greater understanding.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fact that people will die and things will end. And actually, that's a good point, that death is just sort of another extension of just endings in general.
Yeah.
That everything ends, good and bad. Which it sucks as a concept sometimes. So maybe, so writing about it, makes you be able to deal with it better. Definitely. I don't know how much more, I think we're already starting to repeat ourselves. I don't know how much more I have to say about the concept of death, but that's the challenge for this week.
Nice. So let's go ahead and roll on into our listener submitted story section. As you know, we are going to spoil all of these stories that we are going to be talking about. So after we announce them, pause, go read them, and then come back so you can listen to us talk about them.
That's right.
All right. So the stories we are going to be reading this week are by Ace of Sword, No Goodbye, Matt Said Words, Kamikaze Tomato, and Wook. And Wook
against the machine.
Wook against the machine,
which is a good name.
Amazing name. I really dig
good
it.
Crop of stories. Really like these.
Yeah. All right. So first up is by Ace of Sword with Monarch.
So we have this herald trotting through the Forestry district, and we can already tell that he's a little bit entitled. He's looking at this forest and commenting that only the eccentrics and misfits, worthless people live here. They might as well cut down the woods and put something useful. He's going towards the smith's house, and again, we get another beat of him kind of being full of himself when he just like leaves the footmen to try to catch up while he's on a horse. He gets to this smith's house in the middle of the forest, shows him a dagger and asks if it's his. The smith is proud of himself and his ability to basically enchant things, which is a very difficult thing for a blacksmith to do.
Mm-hmm.
And says, yes, this one is mine. It's got this stamp on it. It's my stamp. And this dagger, and we can already kind of guess how this trope works and the way that it's being presented. Mm-hmm. This dagger was used to try and kill the king. And so the blacksmith has to die for creating the weapon that was used in that. So they try to kill him, and he starts getting away until the herald uses magic to fell a bunch of trees until these bees come out, and these bees have sort of been affected by magic. And so they're a bit worse. They start attacking the smith, and then they start attacking the herald, although he uses fire magic to kill them. And they don't see the smith. He goes away before like seeing the actual corpse of the smith, but it seems pretty obvious that he did die. Mm-hmm. We cut to some time in the future. The herald is overseeing that cutting down of the forest. He's going to be named after it, and he's very looking forward to that until these bees appear. And when they appear, they have been twisted by magic a little bit and are covered in armor. Enchanted armor. And so when they come to attack him, the fire that he used before doesn't work, and the bees get him. And instead of naming the district, they name the plague after him.
Mm-hmm. Nice. So yeah, I really do like this story. I mean, of course it is ripe with this sort of world building, but at the same time, I do like how focused this story is on these small interactions, and I do like what is being done with revenge here. I mean, there seems to be there seems to be some sort of backstabbing twice. First, in the herald trying to kill the smith who did make this weapon, but then secondly, these sort of armored bees that seem to be sort of imbued with this smith's power. And yeah, I think I just really like how this story unfolded. It didn't go anywhere that I thought it would, but in the best way, really. I mean, I really do like where this story ended up. I really do like where this story ended. And I think this is definitely one that I would recommend people go and read for this week.
Yeah, it was really, really good. And also, another hint was that the armor was etched with the rune of the blacksmith. So a lot of really great setups and payoffs here. I think this was really well executed.
Yeah. All right. Up next is By No Goodbye with Poison of Choice. Content warning, toxic relationship.
And it depicts toxic relationships really, really well. So there's these two characters. Bianca, aka B, is the main character, and Trish. So they're sort of hanging out in the moonlight, taking a moment to look out, and there's some beautiful prose here describing the area and things like that. Trish picked up smoking from her ex, Max, and still hasn't shaken it. And her breath smells like smoke. And they're talking. Trish is sort of apologizing, but like not super emphatically, about being difficult, about being a mess, and about not trying very hard to be better. And so we're in the head of B, and she's talking about basically how much effort she puts into Trish, and how Trish doesn't really try that much harder to be better, and how she's actually been very hurtful towards B. And Bianca says all the things that she needs to hear, right? That and things that she praises the truth, that Trish is getting better, that she feels better being with her, and that she's not going anywhere. And it's really sad that she feels really trapped in this relationship with Trish, that she can't leave because Trish needs her. And finally at the end, Trish asks if she can kiss B, and we can tell that B still really, really cares about Trish a lot. But they kiss, and it leaves a bad taste in B's mouth, right? Because of the smoke.
Yeah.
The sort of self-destruction. This really resonated with me. I've been in a relationship like this a lot, and every line with the just thinking about why they're in the relationship, every single one of those was exactly spot on. I had thought basically those words exactly as they are. So this was written really, really well. It resonated extremely powerfully with me.
Definitely. And I think something that's really done well within this story is that focus. I mean, there's some great subtext within every line of dialogue. Just how the story itself unfolds. You can tell where it's been and where it is going. And I think this is just a really great snapshot in these two characters' lives, and sort of how we all know that this probably sadly won't end good. But in this moment, we sort of try to understand why they are still in this relationship. And I mean, overall, this story, as you said, is written very, very well. It feels very honest, and it feels very close to the chest. And I really do like it for that. So fantastic job.
Yeah, and if anyone ends up reading this story by No Goodbye, or thinks that they might be in a abusive relationship or a relationship that is really tiring and exhausting, maybe go read the story. And if it resonates, maybe
think
maybe
about
get out of
moving
there.
Around.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to leave relationships like that. And that's why stories like these are so important, to get it from an outside perspective, or to see someone else being in that and think of it from their perspective.
Definitely. Well, all right. Up next is Wook Against the Machine with Feels Like Freedom.
So this is an interesting story. So in the beginning here, what's her name? What's her main character's name? Do we have a name for her?
Let's see.
It might just be she.
I think it's just she.
You know what? I'm gonna call her Prometheus, just because she compares herself to Prometheus. Because I would just look at a name. If Working Against the Machine, if you hate that, send me an email and I'll apologize directly to you.
On live.
So this girl Prometheus, she is laying on the floor in a forest, and it's just a beautiful scene. She feels happy for the first time in forever. And we really feel it. Like the scene really does truly feel happy. It feels joyous, and just super comfortable and nice. I can't give it its due justice without reading the paragraph, but it's a really good perspective on that. And so we sort of flash back. She met him in a forestry course, her boyfriend, and they were together, and they fell in love, and it was wonderful until somehow he was broken, or he was already broken and never got better, or something was wrong with him, and his brokenness made him want to break her too. And then one night he did that. He did something horrible to her. We don't know exactly what it is, but something. And perhaps they were still together for a while longer. But like Prometheus chained to the rock face, she could be bound to his transgression forever, indefinitely regenerating, only to be picked apart again and again, and left to bleed under the unbearably oppressive shadow of that night. So pretty dark. So she ran away, and then eventually she felt good enough that she could do something about it. And she went back and did something. And then we get revealed what that is. Under her, as she's laying on the ground, under her, his head moves, and his upper lip just above the soil in which he had been so securely planted. So she buried him literally in the ground. And so she starts smiling, and then she picks up her jar of meat and dumps it on his head, and then laughs insanely, and then leaves him with the understanding that over the next day or the next night, the wolves and the bears will smell the meat and do her job for her. And she's happy.
Yeah, so very dark story, but I do really love what's being done with tone here. I mean, it goes from this very joyous, very great, vivid scene of her just being as happy as she possibly beats, and then going straight into these darker thoughts that kind of show us her past. All of it to end in a very twisted and gruesome scene, which I did not expect whatsoever. So this story really did take me by surprise. And I mean, I love how it is written. I really do love how much care seems to be taken into each line. And I don't know, it's a perfect portrayal of effective prose. So honestly, really great job, and I hope you continue to write into us.
Yeah, thank you so much. This was really well executed, and it's a good revenge story.
Well, all right. Up next is Matt Said Words with The Queen Bee.
So Dee Whitman is a very rich woman. She lost her marriage and 4 years of her life building her wonderful mansion, Chateau Mon Ami, which means like a house of my friend, more or less, castle of my friend. So it's absolutely perfect. It's in Montana, overlooking a lake and a wonderful forest, and it's perfect. It's very close to the forest. That's a very important thing. But there's one problem: is that there's a small cottage in which Mrs. Sandra Owen, a 80-year-old widow, takes care of her garden, and it's sort of just impeding her view. It's bothering her view, kind of a classic trope. Mm-hmm. And so eventually Sandra Owen has fallen on hard times, and her cottage is going to auction. And Dee throws money around and is able to purchase it. 2 years passed, and she's living the perfect life here, or at least she thinks she is. The Forestry Service is going to cut down some of the trees to make sure everything's safe, which is a setup that we get paid off. Later, she goes to her bathroom and is having a bath when there's a thunderstorm. Eventually, lightning strikes and actually lights one of the trees on fire. And she goes to call for the fire department, but she slips getting out of the shower and breaks her tailbone, and she's unable to go anywhere. That's when she sees that all of the trees have little notches inside of them, all facing towards the house, now visible by the fire. And as the trees burn, they start collapsing one after another, 12 in all, into the mansion, and setting it ablaze and burning it to the ground. And quite a view of destruction. We finally get one final scene where Sandra Owen is reading the newspaper as her nephew tells her what happened. That somehow this freak accident killed the millionaire and the multi-million-dollar house burned to the ground. What hubris. Sandra says, "Be sure and tell John that the Queen Bee sends her thanks for the service that he and his men have done for this old matriarch." And then she goes and takes care of her garden.
Nice. So I really do love this revenge story, especially because it seems kind of well deserved. I mean, it feels like the Wicked Witch got a bucket of water thrown on her. You know, it's very satisfying how this story unfolds, and really I enjoy that the most. And I also really like how much time is taken to really sort of set up this world. It does feel a bit slow starting in the beginning, but as the ball keeps rolling, I just really want to know where it is going, and it gets there, and I love it. So really great job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, again, wonderfully executed. I love how there's basically a 3-beat with the forest one where we're like, oh, it's perfect to nice, so close that you feel as if you're in nature. Mm-hmm. And then we get that beat with cutting down trees. We know that's a setup. We know that's a detail for some reason. And then finally, they're all going to fall. Yeah, it's super, super well done.
Mm-hmm. All right, our final story for this week is by Kamikaze Tomato with When a Bee Stings.
So this really runs with the theme of bees, starting off with how they are gentle creatures. They're wrath, which I think it means something like wrath. Mm-hmm. It has to be earned, right? So you basically, if you get killed by a bee, it's kind of your fault. Or not killed by a bee, it's stung by a bee. And when a bee stings, it dies. It sacrifices itself to deliver that punishment. So he is this noble, that sort of has this appetite for sweetness, and sort of he really loves sweets. It's this noble who owns this giant estate. Mm-hmm. And that extends sort of subtextually, where I think it's pretty clearly implied, but it never actually said that it extends to women as well. He only has the sweetest women, or whatever that means. Sweetness is best homegrown, is what he says. But for some reason, there's no hives on his estates, no gardens, nothing that even flowers. Yet every morning, there's that same tub of honey filled to the brim. And Mary, our main character, noticed. And on the day that she was to sting him, she wore yellow with a dress of yellow and a black sash. And maybe that was actually a different person, not our review point character, someone who tried to get him before. But this other person, our main character, shows up, and when he tries to make a move on her, brushes the hair from her ears, grabs at her thighs, he feels a prick of a sting on his neck. And we get revealed that our main character was holding a bee and delivered a sting, which he was so careful about getting bees off of his property because of his fear of anaphylactic shock. And he goes into it choking, and the guards pull her away, and they might, kill her. They might, and he might not even die. Mm-hmm. But when a bee stings, it releases a pheromone to attack. Right. And so she's sacrificing herself just like the bee to deliver that little stinging blow. But hopefully her alone won't be the last move.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, this story was very satisfying. I mean, we set up this sort of sleazy, gluttonous man, and then we're shown all these bad acts. And towards the end, I think something that really hit me was those last few lines. How it sort of goes beyond this one woman doing this one task, but that it's sort of this sort of hope, this sort of spike of hope, kind of like a martyr in a sense. And I really do like that tone and how it's really carried out throughout this piece. And I mean, honestly, I think with this story, maybe if it was to be extended a bit and a couple of edits done to it, I think this story really has great potential and can definitely go somewhere. So fantastic, great job.
Yeah, I truly love the themes here of it's such a well done echo of those themes about bees and how it extends in a couple of directions. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's really, really well done. I mean, I really like bees as a source for metaphor, right? They are all women. They're basically communists, right? the queen is not actually the one like in charge. She just does, an important thing. And she can get, democratically executed, basically, right? Amongst other things. So there's a lot of really interesting things in there to pull from, and I think this is a really well done take on that. Mm-hmm. Maybe we should do a challenge about just maybe not bees specifically, but like, just
metaphors that you can
writing a story, from animals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I would love that. Well, all right. That's all of the stories that we are going to talk about this week. But we do want
such good revenge stories.
I know
all of them were really, really well done.
Like, I mean, all of them were fantastic rides, and I mean, I can really tell that over time, y'all's writing prowess has definitely upgraded week to week. So I'm so glad to see that this podcast is doing some form of good.
And I'm just going to jump in here right now to say this, and I know this is not like perfectly placed, but hey, the Do For The Right Thing contest ends next week.
Ooh,
all right.
Yes.
So everyone who wrote for this week, and everyone who has listened and has a story in the past, or even hasn't written, please absolutely do consider editing a story, sending it in. Even, okay, if you don't even have time to edit, for whatever reason, just send in a story. At least if you have a story written at all, send one in. Either edit it or don't, but send one in, right? We want to read your stories, and you deserve a shot, at the very least, to show, your prowess and things like that, and the things that you've done. Because we're really, really proud of y'all. Y'all have done such amazing work over the past, forever, but specifically the past 3 months, which is the contest. But yeah, so the deadline is December 14. All you have to do is send an email to doofmedia@gmail.com with DTWT contest number 2 in the subject line. That way we can search it. Ideally, please include the words that you're using and your username, just so we can attribute it, but it's not a big deal if you forget. I kind of forgot to put that in the rules, so not a big deal. We already have some sent in. I know we received one to our Right Thing Cast Gmail, which is totally fine. Although prefer to do the other one. So I'm really, really excited to see everyone send in their stuff. Please do. Everyone who submitted this week, these are such great stories. You could do one of these or anyone from before. To submit your story, do any prompt, including the one from this week. The one from next week will be slightly too late.
Definitely. Well, all right, let's give a big old Do The Right Thing thank you to everyone who did submit their story this week. So, thank you very much to Ace of Sword.
Thank you to Kamikaze Tomato.
Thank you, No Goodbye.
Thank you, Wook Against the Machine.
And thank you, Mad Sad Words. Thank you so much for leaving your story. And of course, for those who do choose to write in to Do The Right Thing, please try and remember leaving a comment on your story and someone else's story. Leaving a comment not only helps you basically understand more about your own story, but you are providing someone else with crucial feedback that is necessary to make them and you a better writer. So thank you very much to Words on the Wind for leaving 2 comments. Thank you so much.
Yeah, we really appreciate that. It's just a good way to self-reflect. I saw people leaving comments on their own stories, and that is a really good start. And just remember to leave a comment for someone else too. And also, if you haven't written a story this week or any other week, consider going in and leaving comments too. They don't have to be, whole paragraphs. It can just be basically an acknowledgement to the person that, hey, I did read it and I like this part or whatever.
Definitely. If you want to be like all of our wonderful writers and submit your story to Do The Right Thing, you can do that by going to /r/Do The Right Thing on Reddit. All you have to do is sit down for 30 minutes and write a complete short story using 3 of 4 words from that week.
That's right. You can also send us an email at rightthingcast@gmail.com if you just want to say hi, or send in your story if you don't have a Reddit account or whatever else. You can also follow us on Twitter. You can DM us, I'm pretty sure, for announcements as they come out, which is at rightthingcast@gmail.com. Or not gmail.com, sorry, just at rightthingcast. It's Twitter.
And if you want to support us and everything else happening in Doof Media, you can do that by donating to the Doof Media Patreon. All you have to do is donate whatever money you may, and that will go towards keeping this podcast going. And also, if you decide to donate $10 or more, you will get access to exclusive bonus content.
That's right. So I think right now the plan for Jarvis and I, right now it's finals week, so we're not doing anything right now, and we are running a little bit behind. We meant to release one last month. But right now I think we're planning to do Death Note and then Steins Gate after
so
that.
excited.
Maybe we can do both of them this month, considering we have break. Those are. Death Note is going to be a real doof-over, right? Because the Doofcast did do an episode on Death Note. But Steins Gate has been covered by us, and it's really, really good. It's one of the first anime I watched, and I really enjoyed it. So
yeah, and it's long and trippy, and I'm going to have to brush up on it
yes, it's about time travel.
See, those are always confusing.
Fun.
Wait, have you seen Erased?
No, I have not.
Okay, that's going to be... the doof over after the next two. It's like one of my favorite animes right now, and I think you will really, really fuck with it. It is a time travel story trying to solve a murder, and that's all I'm gonna tell you. It's really, really good.
Well, I have a really niche. Maybe we can just make doof overs about time travel. I have a really niche thing that we could watch. It's called Back to the Future 3.
I have seen it.
I've actually not seen the second or the third at all, actually.
Oof.
Yeah, I've only seen the first one.
Well, the second one is bleh, but the third one is hilarious.
Okay, good. All right, that's all we have for y'all this week. What are the words for next week? Also, what are we reading for next week?
So, for next week, we are going to delve into a bit of poetry by reading the Weary Blues by Langston Hughes. And yeah,
right.
I mean, I really love this poem, and I think for next week we will probably be talking about place, how to make it super vivid, and really deciding what to keep and what to leave out when it comes to creating place within your own poems or short stories.
Sure, and we'll get to that next week. All right, what are the words this week? Keeping in mind, we'll be doing our words, our little stories about death.
So the words for this week, so the words for next week are proclaim, impact, archive, and resist.
All right, so proclaim, which is to announce something, to yell something out, basically. Although you can also, I don't know, do something with proclaim. I don't know. Like there's something there.
Like it's a positive claim.
Yeah, it could be. Impact, which is when something collides with another. Archive, which is to put something into... So an archive is a place where information is stored over time, or usually some sort of thing with information.
Yeah.
And to archive is to put something in there for longevity. And resist, which is to push back against some oppressive force, I think.
Definitely.
Or opposing force, even.
So,
I think oppressive is actually pretty correct, because it's always like you're resisting something that is more powerful.
Yeah.
Usually.
Yeah. So, what story are you going to be writing for next week?
So I didn't think about this at all, but I'm going to be writing, of course, about a rebellion, a resistance movement that made a great impact upon an empire when they proclaimed that the emperor was canceled, and they sent an assassin to stab him in the chest. But according to the archives, it didn't work. or plot twist, the emperor didn't die.
Ooh.
However, there's rumors that the assassin replaced the emperor.
Oh, let him go.
With an exact copy, but homosexual.
Whoa. I kind of dig that. I can see myself reading a 3-novel series on this.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, okay, so So my story isn't going to be as grand as yours, but it will deal with the death of the universe. You see,
no. That's pretty fucking grand, Jarvis.
I don't know. It's really not that big of a deal. But you see, far off in the far future, after humankind has reached the stars and beyond, on this humble little rock that we currently call Earth, the skies finally parted, and the one true God, the one true King, came down on her golden staircase to proclaim the end of all. Now, most people didn't really heed these warnings. In fact, they went on about their day. Because why should they believe the words of a God that they've long stopped believing in? And you see, this mass resistance to the end is what actually created this such end. You see, God, she's peaceful most of the time. She sets things in motion and watches how they impact her chosen species. But she has been keeping ledgers of all those who have actively gone against her, kept safe in her grand archive. So, as soon as the first tiny voices started to rebel against this true God, she just went down the list, and every name that she spake into existence ceased to exist nevermore. Down the list she went. Jonathan Davis, gone. Trevor Noah, gone. Everyone and everything.
The godless heathens.
In her great book, poof, gone, nevermore. Never.
Bill Mayer.
Bill Meyer. Tom
Richard
Segura.
Dawkins.
Pop. And they all left because they never truly were. Until the entire expanse of the stars became a black void. For there were no human eyes to validate the glow of the stars.
Bummer.
Mm-hmm. Hey, we all gotta die.
Would you say that when she made the list, it was a list of people who were naughty or nice?
Yes, and
Would you say that she checked it twice?
I think twice, maybe 3 times. Yeah.
Just to make sure everything was good.
Yeah,
Cool. Because that would be the right thing to do.
That would
everything's in order.
be the right thing.
Hello and welcome to Do the Right Thing, your weekly writing prompt podcast. I'm Matthias. Oh, wait, no, I already fucked it up. I'm not Matthias anymore.
Alexandra, thank you.
Yeah, let me go.
What about...
I'm so confident.